Hello, I'm Mark Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have Ben Jackson, the MD of Titan, in the house. How are we doing, Ben?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Mark. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. All good in the Gerrards Cross hood. Yes, we are good. So, thanks so much for coming on, Ben. I know it's last day of the month, so I know this is a very busy time to get out of your schedule, but we'll go straight into it because it's a subject very close to my heart because I'm seeing. Sounds horrible. I'm seeing disasters all over the channel around this subject. And of course, it's costing companies billions of pounds because it's a subject that goes very much under the radar. You know, if it's physical health, people have time off, broken legs, etc. Mental health, no, we're not interested in hearing about that. It's something that doesn't go on. So I was interested in sort of getting your views on it because mental health is a subject that's mentioned a lot in the channel, but not really spoken about in the channel. And what I mean by that is there's lots of slogans out there, but no one's actually really talking about it. So I was wondering what you were doing as a company that maybe hasn't got the £1 billion budget of Computer Centre or Softcat to do these sort of funds, that are trying to got some of these strategies that you're doing in your own company to help deal with mental issues around your own staff and your own mental well-being. Yeah,
well, thanks. I mean, obviously, you don't have to be a £1 billion reseller to look after your staff well and stuff. But I mean, from my perspective, there's a line, isn't there? We've got to be really careful as employers whether we cross it or don't cross it. I mean, do all employees want us to crack the mental health code, for example? We're not psychologists. We're salespeople. I'm a salespeople person. Steve's sales. All the directors are salespeople. So maybe there's a line we can't cross to crack mental health, but certainly as employers we need to make our companies great to work at, and that's not just about remuneration. That's the company values, how we treat our employees, treating them with respect, making them feel valued. I've always had a collegiate style of management, so everyone's got a voice at Titan. I certainly don't have all the keys to the castle. I don't have all the answers. So I need people around me that can do better things than I can ultimately. So we've always tried at Titan to make it a culture first employer, and we've done it from day one. I mean, we're 2 years in, and what we've done so far, we've signed all the employees up to our Health Shield program, which basically gives them, financial support for, going to the dentist, opticians, all that sort of stuff. But most importantly, there's 24/7 counselling and support helpline, which gives them practical and emotional support on anything, financial issues, counselling issues. And we've also signed up to the Employee Assistance Program, which basically gives them face-to-face counselling support whenever they need it. That's something Titan had done over summer, 3 months after the first lockdown. It's not expensive, but I think it just gives some great support to the guys, whether they're working from home at their parents' house. It's just some support that's completely confidential between employee and Health Shield, and that's pretty cool. What we did on the 1st of November, we appointed a head of health and wellbeing. And the reason we did this, because, we all need to be, I guess, educated about health and well-being. I'm 45 now. I was 39 before I realised that, I needed a PT and I needed to try and get in shape. And the stuff I learned about nutrition, mindfulness, and, the things that we can actually do to help us sleep better and stuff has really helped me for the past 5 years massively. So this lady, Kelly, she sends out loads of advice. She does one-on-one sessions with the guys on a weekly basis. Anything from yoga to Pilates to nutrition advice, and we're all different, aren't we? So some of us might need help with nutrition, some of us need fitness tips, but either way, what she's doing for the guys so far has been incredible. She sends out little snippets every few days. Most recently was, if you're feeling sort of stressed or anxious, if you tap on your chest for 30 seconds, breathing in or breathing out, that helps you. And she actually did it with the Wolf of Wall Street video as well, where Matthew McConaughey did that scene. And I just thought it's really cool because it's something really serious, but done in a jovial fashion that people can relate to. So she's done great for us, and hopefully we'll get bigger, we'll get more people doing it as well. So Health Shield and a head of health and wellbeing is what we've done so far for the guys, in answer to your question.
And how did you? What prompted you to sort of do that? Because you've got to have a level of self-awareness to actually do that. So, for instance, in my company, I've only just started talking about that today.
Yeah,
it was almost like I started this series, and I was thinking, we haven't got dent plan, we haven't got this, but we're taking the guys down the pub on a Friday, and it's like, is that really good for their mental health and their well-being, etc.? And I've started to reevaluate things, and it's quite frankly, Ben, it's quite hard to look at yourself like that. So what prompted you 2 or 3 months ago to suddenly think Health Shield? I'd never heard of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, I love taking everybody out, and everybody who knows me knows that I'm partial to, a pint and the odd socially distanced cigarette. But, that's great from a camaraderie perspective. But, the next morning we're going to be hungover, we're going to be eating like bacon and egg sangers, you're probably going to be deflated all morning. And so it is counterproductive from that regard. But, Nigel, our head of marketing, he was aware of the Health Shield program. So literally June, July, we signed that. And that's what I'm saying. If I go back to the people I work with, all of us bring something to the party. We've all got different experiences and, come up with great ideas. I mean, for me personally, I'm a bit of a recovering control freak, shall we say. I'm a stress head, and, that's generally because, I'm either focused on trying to do a deal or I'm concerned about the P&L, and you go through extreme highs and lows. And that's me as the MD of the company. So if I can feel like that, then, everybody in the company can feel like that. And there'll be different types of pressures and stresses on all of our staff for differing reasons, So it's just having the compassion and foresight to realise that, but also to be connected to some pretty great people. So to be able to bring the head of health and well-being in, is more by association, So it's just luck, but just I'm just glad we've done it.
And do you think, Ben, it's our industry that sort of stops us being, or maybe men in general, stops us being a bit more empathetic than usual? Because, for instance, if you'd have told me pre-lockdown what you just said, I'd be thinking, Ben, you're sounding a bit like a pansy, really. You really are. And now I've gone through it, I'm thinking, oh no, I'm having challenges myself. Maybe I should be speaking to Ben. So how can we break that stigma down? Because there's no doubt about it, I would have been that person thinking, just crack on with it, Ben. What are you moaning at? And yet now I'm thinking, oh, actually, maybe I've got stresses myself and I've got challenges myself. So how do you think we can break that stigma down? Because there's no doubt about it. High octane environment, go-getting, achieving, etc., etc. That pressure comes at a cost. It has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Your body can't take that, especially as we get older.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 45. You're 44, aren't you? Even though you look a bit older than me.
Yeah.
But we're dinosaurs, I suppose, in that regard. I'm from a culture where you don't talk about those things and you just crack on. And I probably used to be like that myself. Certainly people I used to work with may have thought I was a complete bastard, but everybody I work with today, can see everything we've done at Titan was to make it a great place to work. And I don't know why we do. That's just who we are, and that's the type of company and culture we wanted to create. So you end up working somewhere, you have all your experiences, you put them together, you start again. That's exactly what we've done at Titan. We've nailed it. We've got it right. So the culture is fantastic, the communication is fantastic, and I actually think it's one of the positives of COVID over summer. Psychologically, we all thought the world was going to end in April, didn't we? Made us absolutely graft and work harder than we'd ever worked before. And, we kept communicating with the guys throughout the day, every hour, Skype calls, to the point it's probably irritating some people, who knows. But, we've come out the other side. And I just think, that forced lockdown has made us all talk more. And I think there's less stigma attached to being honest. You have these calls and the dogs start barking, or DPD's outside, or, the bath's overrun, or whatever. We've all been completely humanized over summer now. Yeah. We're capable, to be honest, about daily occurrences that are completely normal. And that is also, attached to mental health and well-being ultimately.
Yeah, because you've got things like, isolation, so if it's not, say, not healthy choices, whether it's drinking too much or eating the bad things or not getting enough exercises, which definitely causes challenges around mental health, isolation, anxiety, that sort of depression, those sort of further ones, which are very difficult to identify. If someone's at home, maybe on their own or maybe not on their own, they want to be on their own. In some ways it could be the other way. How have you tackled trying to identify those sort of issues when you might not have seen the nuances or the body language when you've seen them in person, because I think that's really challenging.
Yeah, I mean, look, the culture has to be right first and foremost, because people have got to be able to communicate. A few weeks ago, I put a post out on LinkedIn about some of the things I've learned from running a business. And as a salesperson, you're always scared of your customer base changing, your targets being increased, your commission diluted, and that's a daily occurrence. And those pressures have been intensified from being forced to work from home and stuff. So it's not easy to communicate with everybody and get them to share their issues. So, I mean, we focus on the culture and the communication, of course, and that collegiate style of management that I referred to. During lockdown, I don't think there's much more that we can do from that, because it's all done digitally, So over the past 2 months, we've been working on our Investors in People accreditation. I'm pleased to say that we've been awarded it, I think, Wednesday last week. So we'll be announcing that to all the guys this week, which is pretty cool. So, and again, doing that only after 2 years of trading, I wanted to do that. So to keep us honest, ultimately, because, we started as a foursome, there's now 20 of us. And, we've made the company already a great place to work. But what happens when there's 200 of us? How will we continue our values and, maintain that culture that makes us great today? And certainly the Investors in People accreditation will hold us accountable to that. There was some fantastic, comments that come out of the Investors in People. They interviewed our staff confidentially and stuff, and they commented on the strength of the positive company culture that we've already created in such a short period of time. And we're really proud of that ultimately. So Investors in People, culture, communication is things that we've done to try and help everybody who's working from home and feeling pretty isolated.
Yeah, and that's great, Ben. And if I don't know if you have had any issues internally at your company, but say for instance, if an issue was identified, so someone's come to you and they've said, Ben, look, I've got a problem. I've either got depression, anxiety, or addiction, whatever the issue is, the mental health issue is. We as business leaders haven't had, or I certainly haven't had much experience of how to handle that. So normally it might be like just snap out of it or whatever it is. How have you now had the foresight and the empathy levels to think, actually, once you've got the problem identified, to then tackle it? Because before, pre-COVID, I know, speaking for experience in here, we'd had no idea. If someone had come up to us and said they'd been feeling low or depression, I would have ignorantly, I'd have sort of like just said, what are you talking about? So how can I know that sounds bad, Ben. That sounds bad, but I would have been that person. So how can we make sure that that's not happening and we're making it acceptable to come out and to come and say is the problem? But once the problems come out, how do we then tackle it?
Yeah, I mean, again, are we as employers the right people to be tackling? We've got to be honest and open and not judgmental. We're all human beings, aren't we? We've all got strengths, we've all got weaknesses, we all have facades to a degree, and we've all got problems. And, some people deal with those problems, others can't, and they need some professional help. We've just got to create a platform where no employee feels scared to voice their issues, concerns, on a daily basis. And if something needs some serious help after just us having a conversation about it, and then we'll do anything we can to help any of the guys. It just goes without saying.
Yeah, and my last question, Ben, and again, there almost is no answer to it, but I'm interested in doing getting your thoughts on what you're doing at Titan about it. There's potential healthy challenges, so let's say workaholic, someone that's working so many times, but they don't know they've got a problem, right? They're working 16, 17-hour days, but they don't realize they've actually got a problem. They're actually thinking, they're not giving the signs that they're stressed, but they're isolating themselves, etc. Because there's a big issue with mental health is the person that's going through these mental health challenges sometimes doesn't realize they've got their own problem, and it's got to be identified from someone else. Because I'm looking at people, I'm hearing horror stories in the market from people committing suicide and people having challenges around mental health, but didn't even realize they had a problem. How have you tackled it, or how would you tackle it in your own company if you thought someone's got an issue, but they were blissfully unaware that they had a challenge?
Wow, that's a tough question to answer. I mean, from my perspective, just looking objectively, you tend to tell if people are fraying at the seams. You work with people and you're connected to them 5 days a week. I mean, we all work together incredibly hard. You can tell if someone's just not on top form. But you got to recognize that yourself. I know how hard I work, and I'm also aware that I'll be stressed if things are going super well, and I'll be stressed if they're going super bad. It doesn't really make any difference to me. I don't realize you're just on it constantly all the time. Yeah. It's only very recently I've started not looking at my phone over weekends.
That's good. And yeah,
it's so. I mean, I'm not that on social media, but just from a work perspective, I'm always waiting for that next email to come in. You know what I mean? It's like excites me. But equally, to put that phone down.
Yeah. You take bloody ages to reply back to my emails. I know that.
It's selective, mate, selective. But just trying to enforce myself to be a little bit more disciplined with my personal social life, and not being 100% focused on work all the time. So if I can recognize those issues in myself and actually do something about it, then I'm hoping that we can spot, maybe issues before they become really apparent to other people. And, Steve, the directors, all of the line managers at Titan, they're in daily communication with our guys, lots of one-on-ones and so on and so forth. And so I think we all know each other pretty well at this point. So I'm hoping we could see something happening before it really does happen.
Yeah, good. Look, Ben, you've been a fantastic guest. What's more interesting is I've started yoga myself now.
Yeah, so there you go, see?
Are we coming up to see you to do like downward facing dogs and what it is? I tell you what, it's so hard. I was boxing all the time and I was thinking, Jesus, this is harder than boxing doing this yoga. So I'll have to catch up with you sometime and get some lessons of you. But look, you've been thanks very much for your time. Cheers, thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.